Welcome to If I Ever Live to Be. We've got a brand new show for you today, and I'm super excited about this one. In fact, we've already been talking for like 30 minutes, and you guys just weren't in on that. I'm sorry. So it's going to be exciting, but we've already had a really good conversation. I've got Ellen Belk with me today. She's founding owner of Keep in Mind, and she's also a board certified dementia educator. So thanks for coming on today, Ellen.
Always a pleasure. My second go around in your podcasting space. So
yeah,
I'm an OG. I'm an OG in the world.
You are, and it's so funny because we were chatting about like this overarching theme of reinvention. Because like I don't know, that almost feels like another life
for both of us. For both of us, yeah.
I don't know, 2018, 2019?
It might have been, yeah, because it was when I left my last job. It was around early 2020, early to mid, probably Q1 of 2020, because I had stepped out and had reopened Keep in Mind after shuttering it for a few years to go work for a client. And then during COVID, I'm like, no, peace out. I'm coming back and going back and hanging my shutter again for Keep in Mind.
Yeah.
So, and you and I got on your radar, and we talked about what I was doing, and you introduced my business to your audience at that time,
which is so interesting because everyone probably feels like pre-COVID and post-COVID is, that's another life, right? We're probably like PC and AC, at this point, because it's like, this is what was here and now we're here. But that's interesting that that was around the time that you restarted Keep in Mind. So tell us about that and what all you do. And I know that's going to lead us into the rest of our conversation for today.
Yeah. Again, when I originally back in 2011 launched Keep in Mind, it was because, and I was opening it as a holistic dementia care solutions expert. I still have that moniker. The board certified dementia educator is more continuing education that I've acquired since, opening Keep in Mind. But my goal and my vision was always to show the world, whoever, families, professionals, non-pharma first solutions or interventions to work with your loved ones, whether they're your loved ones or you're a professional provider. Lead with non-pharma. It doesn't mean I'm anti-medication, but there is no real medication for people with cognitive decline, and we go off script and literally off prescription for them, and it's not healthy. And I'm 25 years now, as we speak now. This is my 24th, year as in the professional space. So I launched it originally just to show people the importance of focusing on my 4-pillar philosophy, which focuses on environment, education. Environment meaning the living environment, right? The nutrition, environment, living environment, communication. How do we communicate with our friends living with dementia? Nutrition, and also engagement. We have to have food as medicine, and we have to keep people stimulated, even in later stages of cognitive decline. So I built this little, kingdom of mine. I started to get clients in the professional senior space. That whole journey led me to being able to trademark my approach, my holistic approach, which we call our team approach. That created people buying my intellectual property and then using it within their organizations. I came along as a consultant. So I had a really good rhythm there from about 2011 to 2017, when 2 of my clients at that point merged. They were both using my operational system for dementia operations, and they made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. So I became their national director, cost country of dementia operations. And it was my intellectual property that they had purchased. So they felt it was like, oh, this is cool. We've got the founder of what we're doing. So that was a great ride. It was a huge, again, as every season of my journey, I learned it was exactly what should have happened, because I learned even more. And then when the lockdown happened, I diverted. I thought, I'm not liking what we're doing. I do not align professionally with how we're handling this. It is the worst thing for my friends with dementia to be locked away in isolated, and I've lived through many. Professionally, I had lived through avian flu. There were the GI tract. I'd lived through the other lesser, not as worldwide, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we always knew you don't isolate the unless they're sick, aging bodies, and especially our friends with cognitive decline who can't follow sometimes directions, and they don't understand, they don't get it. They don't understand. So what do sometimes they were being medically restrained because they didn't want people moving around. So I didn't align with that. I didn't align with that here in 2020. So I reemerged, hung my shingle for Keep in Mind again. But I kind of was coming out with even more. I had spent so many years now in this last 4 years at that point, really having I was C-suite. I was dealing with builders and developers. When I came out this second time to kind of reinvent Keep in Mind in 2020, I came out with more of I got to start telling the inside scoop of what's going on. I want to help. I want to use my voice that's not being filtered through a corporate prism to really work with the salespeople. I want to educate the professionals, but I really want to start telling the consumers things that they don't know that they don't know. And that's kind of what I proceeded to do. I'm a web educator. That's why, I do a lot of stuff online. And interestingly enough, I'll stop right there because currently I'm in the midst of get a third reiteration after the last year of my life. So, I feel like every couple of years, I don't get facelifts. I just get a facelift of my company, and I refresh and I zhuzh it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I love that because that's so much the beauty and part of the benefit of having your own business, right? Is that you don't have any corporate tape that you have to cut through. And you can decide. It's hard, but it's much easier to make that pivot of, you know what, this is different right now. This has changed right now. New technology right now, whatever the right now is, you can make that pivot so much more quickly if it's your business and if it's a little bit smaller, right? Like as the company grows and as you hire and things like that, it's the difference almost like between a sailboat and a really big cruiser, where it's going to take a little bit more time, right, to make that turn,
right.
Instead of if you're smaller and you've got that ability.
Right. And I make decisions in real time, and I don't have to run it past a committee. I will say, for not all of my career, but for a lot of it, again, and maybe it's my personality, and maybe it's because the dementia space, I guess I feel blessed that I landed in the dementia space 24 years ago, because it was still kind of the wild frontier. And now, as the world is aging, as we see more, even people that don't know how to spell dementia, they can pick up on when somebody is an older body is starting to be forgetful and stammer or not, mumble their words. And there's a little more awareness, I would imagine, about cognitive decline, but it's still not nearly where we need to be. So I say all that to say, when you are somebody that has that skill set, there are people that understand that they need you, but on the other flip side of it, this is part of my new reinvention of myself. It's why this third one now, what I'm going through right now, is because I really am even leaning further into educating families. I'm really considering myself now a web educator, because I'm taking all these credentials. I'm taking all these 24 years of literally inside from the care floor to the C-suite. I've done it all. I've had it I still rub elbows with the C-suite, although now they're worried about how much I'm going to talk about the secrets on the inside. But this is the beauty. I'm really feeling energized, because I do believe that just a sidebar, the long-term living environment, the people that build these $8, $9, $10, $11, $12,000 a month locations that you get for the room that are or have purchased, they really haven't changed much. And the investors get fatter and happier. They buy more Caribbean islands. They buy more of those boats that are slow to turn that you just referred to. But the quality of the care, the prices are going up and the quality of care is going down. And it is absolutely not because there's a caregiving shortage. That is the narrative that the people that don't want to pay the caregivers want to tell you. It's not that. We have people that will care. We have to care for the people that care. If that makes sense. So it's that type of information. I'm doing a lot of recording of my own and putting a platform together behind the scenes that will be, forward facing, subscription based for people, nominal, but for people to get behind the curtain where I can say what I want to say, and I won't be, censored by people that don't want me to put out the word that what I just said. It's not a caregiving crisis. We don't have that. We have a stop treating your people like crap crisis.
Yeah.
Who don't want to be a caregiver because you treat them like crap.
Right.
And then there's so much more to that, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And it's feeling, girl, I'm liberated because the stuff that we're recording behind the scene, this platform that we're building, it is like, holy smokes, this is so awesome. And the early feedback that I'm getting is people are saying, I'll just give you this nugget. We're starting to record a series that I'm calling When No One Is Listening. Nice. And the concept of when no one is listening, and there's a tagline that goes, real and raw conversations between aged care executives. So I've got a couple of trusted people in my, executive leader sphere in aged care. I'm the dementia person, but there's other people that I trust and who I have had off-color, offline conversations with as we all navigate our portion of aged care. And we've all talked about our frustrations. What I'm doing now, I'm like, we got to start letting the public hear what we say. We have to. So we just started recording some of these, you're catching us in a conversation that we don't know you're listening to. And it's cool. I'm feeling really proud about it, that I feel like we're starting to just, knowledge nugget dump information in short snippets. Literally, it's no intro. There's nothing sexy about it. It's literally my vision for it is I want people to land on these little sound bites and think that they're overhearing something that they may or may not have supposed to have been overhearing. That's the point. And so we're talking in ways that we always talk behind the scenes, but we don't bring to the forward. Don't you wish like all businesses would do that? Like all corporate decision makers would tell you how the soup is made. I think the world is ready, especially going back to your point about the pre-COVID PC and post-C. I think the world is ready for the reality of whatever it is. And I know in my world, I'm very passionate about how we have made big mistakes in aged care and are continuing to make them. And so there's a part of me that's like, listen, I'm in my 50s. I'm not going down without a fight, and I'm not going to let this big voice I'm going to tell people how the soup is made. Just going to do it. Sorry.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I feel like we went through the Great Resignation, right? That was around COVID as well. And it almost feels like we're experiencing, maybe we're in the middle of it. This is probably ongoing too, but it's almost like the Great Divide, right? Of those companies, even people that want to keep some things behind doors. And then certain things that need to be exposed, right? Like I understand that there's a fine line on some of this, but I'd love for you to share the challenges of that and just going against the grain in general. And just listening to you speak, several things came to mind because even what you're doing with dementia is hard work, right? I don't know that I can name you anyone else. It's like, oh, this is a really challenging area, the dementia space, the cognitive decline. I'm going to literally jump in and do what I can to help these people because no one else is willing to do it. Right. Like that's on its own is like, you're getting your hands dirty. Then not only are you doing that, but you're doing it in this proprietary way of like, there's this path that you can go down with it, or there's this unconventional path that you can go with it. And so it sounds like at every turn, there could be challenges, pushbacks, roadblocks that you're having to go over, walls that you got to go around. So I'd love for you to just dive into that and share that experience.
Well, I think, and people will have to, I don't know if our former interview exists in longevity anywhere. Maybe there's some evergreen place, but it was in that first time that you and I spoke where I mentioned that I entered the healthcare industry in 2000 and very early 2002, maybe late 2001, from a broadcasting background. So I have a college degree in radio broadcasting. I worked successfully for 10 years in broadcasting, which culminated.
I remember we geeked out about that.
Like we did. Like, you're a sports girl. Well, you're a sports girl too, so I love that about that. So we talked in sports analogies. I remember.
Yes.
It was awesome. But interestingly enough, see, I had played college basketball. And so all of that kind of defined and got me into my first career. And then it was through that first career. And I was really blessed and lucky. I landed in New York City co-hosting a sports talk show at the height of the internet, the origination of the internet.com era in 2000, where we were actually, it was, oh my gosh, there was no, we called it archive. There was no podcast. We were doing our show live on the internet, but if you missed it, we called it archive. You could listen archive later. I mean, it's so weird. That's only, it was 25 years ago. It was 2020. But I was on the height of that. So I landed this, .com money in New York City, doing something it was trailblazing. It was freaking awesome. But then I rode that wave, and then we crashed with the .com crash, and then 9/11. So I had a very tumultuous, I was in my early 30s back then. And it was like, oh snap. Okay, let me rejigger. I had really lived such a cool life. I was covering professional sports. I had done it in several markets, and I just really had a fun, cool 20s and into my early 30s life. And after 9/11, I shifted back to Milwaukee, which is Wisconsin, which is my home state. And that's when I transitioned into elder care. And it was at that, I was given pushback from the very first job I had. Nice. And I didn't even know how to spell Alzheimer's. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I also was a girl in my 30s who survived what I've already told you. And then there's other, and other things. And I have common sense. And of course, I'd always been close with my the grandparents that I knew. And as a communicator, you're a communicator too. I communicate. So if I see something that's off, if I have a question, I'm going to ask a question. Did I learn quickly in aged care that they don't like some city slicker New Yorker, which I wasn't. I mean, I was an outsider in New York as well, but some city slicker New Yorker coming here to ask us who does she think she is? I mean, I heard it all, which only this is the thing, and maybe it's a personality trait. Maybe you can understand. The more someone would push back on me, I'm like, oh snap! What do they not want me to know? Now I want to know it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I started to just dive in, and I thought, and of course, the byproduct of, and my first, several jobs were working with elders with cognitive decline. And I realized so quickly, I'm talking within weeks, oh, wow, this is my audience. These are my people. Why? Because I have a very big personality. I don't know if that shows. I know I'm a little demure when I come, but I have this personality, and I had a new audience. Not that I was, and I wasn't putting on a show in any way. I just wasn't scared to talk to anybody. Of course, we were very early on, within weeks of me starting in this original position I held in a skilled nursing community at like $11 an hour. Meanwhile, I'd just been making six figures in New York. It was humbling on every level. But God has a plan, right? I didn't know any of this. I just needed to work.
Yeah.
I needed to get out of broadcasting. I wanted to do something a little more fruitful with my life. I landed exactly where I needed to be. I kind of figured that out relatively quickly when I realized how I formed connections with my residents that I was privileged to serve, and how they enriched my life. And yes, there was cognitive decline, but here's the deal. They didn't, depending on where you are in your journey of dementia, of a diagnosed dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or all the other hundreds of ways you can progress cognitively through dementia. Dementia is not the final diagnosis. It's an umbrella term like cancer. So you have to figure out what type of dementia a person has. So I started to learn all that. Back in those days, I had people that educated. They got me. I went to Rush Medical. They got me education. I went to Rush Medical University, and I got continuing education credits. I got certifications. So I started to build my own portfolio. But I never stopped getting pushback, because here's what happened. As I started to, again, now I had to get some credentials behind my name, because no one ever cared what I had to say in those early years, because I was an outsider.
Yeah. Interesting.
But once I started to get the education, mercifully back in those days, people invested in the success. I now had some credentials behind, and now we're talking years. We're not talking like the first year or two that I was in the industry. By year 10 though, I was starting to move some mountains a little bit. And some people came on board. Some people realized, I want to work with this girl. There were other people that are like, nope, she's not a nurse. Then I'm not a nurse. There was always something that I wasn't enough. But mercifully now I've built it. It's taken a while, but I have my very specific brand. I am very much in my niche. I call myself the next generation of the face of dementia education, because like I said, I'm in my 50s. I'm 24 years now into this. I have more than enough street cred to be able to do what I'm now doing. And I'm actually more empowered. So all that pushback, note to self, if you're a naysayer and you want to push back on the new kid on the block in whatever circle you run on, be careful. You might run into somebody like me who takes that pushback, and it's like rocket fuel for me. Because like I said, I just want to know, what don't they want me to know?
Yeah. Well, and that's what you got to recognize as the Ellens and the Whitneys and the put your name in the blank of the world, right? Sometimes God will put a roadblock to get us to pause and test that theory. And okay, is this the road I need to go down? In other circumstances, pushback means you're 100% on the right path. So you have to, really examine it and decide which route you want to take that. But I love that. And it's just, again, it speaks to your ability to just continue to push through and create really using your talents to create what you were meant to create. How many times have we heard you're too soft-spoken, you're not loud enough, you're not smart enough, you're not old enough, you're not young enough. Like there's all the you're not enough. But when maybe you are soft-spoken, but where God is taking you, that's exactly what he needs you to be. He needs you to be patient. He needs you to be soft-spoken and using those skills that everyone else is looking in the conventional manner of how the world works, and be countercultural to that and look at it and say, okay, well, I appreciate that feedback, but how can I use this gift that I have to actually do exactly what I'm meant to do with it? Right.
Well, and especially when you're fueled by something, Whitney, I like I said, big voice. Listen, I got in trouble in third grade, third day of school. I grew up in Wisconsin, and Miss Meggers, I am in my 50s, and I still remember Miss Meggers on the third day of third grade moved my desk into the cloakroom. Okay, anyone who's a northerner knows what that is. We don't have to get into that, but that's where the coats and the boots in Wisconsin are stored. And I had to move my desk into the cloakroom because I was too disruptive of the class, because I was a chatty Cathy. Well, then I went on to make good money as a chatty Cathy because I had my own radio show. But then fast forward to my dementia space, and it was all cool. Listen, I have met professional athletes. I can tell you some, and this was like pre-internet where everybody makes money on telling the dirty secrets of, professionals or celebrities. I had inside seats to celebrities and their shenanigans. And those were back in the days was, as a good reporter, you just kept your mouth shut. Fast forward to being in senior housing and being in the dementia care side of aged care. I realized that this big voice, this push it through, bust down the wall gal, it wasn't telling the sport who won the game and how they won it. Now it was, no, this is what we need to do to care for this amazing group of individuals that we are privileged to serve. Every time I trained, I have trained hundreds of thousands of caregivers in 24 years who are the frontline people. It was a lot of times that's where I was sent to educate and work with. And my program is geared for the frontline, the hands-on care crew. I also, I have, trainings for the executive leaders as well. But it's that frontline crew that represents the care of what every $1 million building built in the country in aged care in the United States, what they're supposed to do. And I always said, never forget, we are privileged to serve these people that we serve. If this is a chore, if this is awful for you, not your job. These are human beings that have lived storied lives that are dependent upon us now for their care needs. That's a privilege. And so I to this day, and now I'm in my 25th year of doing it. Here's the other thing. I'm 24 years in in what we've already talked about, that my space. I am in my 25th year of being a family caregiver. First with my dad, who was diagnosed with a dual diagnosis of weird. Again, God does have a sense of humor. 10 years into my industry, I told you that's when I really started to get my sea legs. I started to have about 10 years in when I entered the industry, I was developing things, and people were now finally taking notice of these things that I was bringing to the care space. So I've had some professional successes at this point. And my dad ultimately, and it took me and my mom, but with me, because now I'm in the dementia space, I knew there was cognitive decline. I knew I was suspicious it was Lewy body dementia. I had already taken care of many, many people in my career at that point with Lewy body dementia. And sure enough, fast forward, I pushed hard, and Dad ended up getting a dual diagnosis of both Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. And it was in that, and I was living long distance from them, and I was traveling. I was in business, I was traveling, and I was kind of supporting my mom, and I was back and forth. I fell into a rhythm at that time. And interestingly enough, I had just launched, I hadn't at first launched my Keep in Mind, but by 2011 I had, and that's when I was able to launch Keep in Mind. And it gave me some freedom as we were building up Keep in Mind. So I was back and forth to Wisconsin all the time. And my dad's life journey ended in 2016. And now in 2020, his wife, my mother, he left behind, she decided in the midst of a global pandemic to leave Wisconsin and come to the Carolinas where I live. She was very physically intact. She sold her car. And that's when she said, Ellen, I've sold my car. I'm ready to move to South Carolina. I'm like, yeah, the world is shut down. I live 1,000 miles away from you, but okay, let's make it happen, Mom. Sold her condo. She got 4 all cash offers on the first day she listed it. And, a couple months later, she was living in South Carolina. And then, but sadly, and we are closing in on the 1-year anniversary of in May of last year, May of 2024. My beloved Millie, if you follow me on LinkedIn, people know I gently talk about my mom and my journey with my mom, but she had a stroke in May of last year. And that has changed the dynamics significantly. There's significant cognitive decline. Short term, it's all stroke related and other age related issues. She's 96 too. So my caregiving continues. And as I'm, again, I'm just the balancing of care and career. It's like my whole career in elder care has been balancing the care of my elder parents. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
God has a sense of humor.
Yeah, no, he does. But I mean, I love how you're using your voice and your skills, Ellen, to speak for those who, many of them, cannot speak and fight for themselves. And I just had this thought this morning, just random, I don't know, I was getting coffee or something, and I just felt God say, you can't be a warrior in your prayer life and be scared when you go out your front door. Like,
amen. Amen to that. Amen to that.
You have to carry, like, you cannot drop that armor when you go out of your house. And I feel like sometimes I'm guilty of that, right? Where I'm like in the moment and praying, and then I can go out and let all the other voices start to drop my armor and let those infiltrate in, right? Like, I'm even thinking like putting up your shield, and you just have to be so discerning with what you let in and what you don't, because it truly can block your purpose and your impact if you allow it to.
Well, that's the devil getting his way now, isn't it?
Yep.
He's winning. And so I choose to not be on that team. But again, listen, Are you kidding? Even, I'm a big personality and all the things we've covered. Of course, I have my days too. We all do. So yeah, that's where we give ourselves grace, right? That's the only thing we can do, because we are fallen. Everybody is. There's no one's perfect on earth. No one's perfect on earth.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love this so much, and I can just feel your energy for it, Ellen. So I definitely want to give you an opportunity, if people are listening and they want to connect with you and even learn more about your online community that you're talking about as well, that you're launching. Where do they find you? How can they connect with you?
Start right now at Keep in Mind Inc. That's the email or the website. The URL is Keep in Mind with an INC at the end .com, and you'll see a page where I'm talking. You'll see the Build Our Community page, and that's happening right now as we speak. I'm in recording sessions now. We're putting it together, and I just don't want to launch it bits and pieces. I'm getting playlists together, and this, when no one is listening, is one of my playlists. There's a 7-minute speaker series, which I'm also recording right now. I'm getting guests on, very thought-provoking thought leaders in the aged care space. Yes, my expertise is in dementia. That's the lane that I'm in, but I dance in the industry with age and play specialists, OT, PT. So and we all can speak a similar language, and we all support each other. So you'll get alternate voices in my world. But so keepinmindinc.com is the best way. Follow me on LinkedIn. Truly, those are really my only social media. Whitney, I will tell you, when I first launched Keep in Mind all those years ago, I was on everything, the Twitter, the Insta wasn't a thing back then, but Facebook. But here, fast forward to now, those spaces are so cluttered with misinformation. And I'm not, I don't want to get political. I don't mean misinformation like the way the world is using it. I just mean it's painful for me as a practitioner, a hands-on, very, boot on the ground professional in the industry, to listen to someone that says, well, we tied my grandma to a radiator and it worked. She didn't escape from the house. I mean, I'm being dramatic here, but it's like, you might as well be, because it's somebody on the internet that you don't know. So I can't live in those spaces. There are dementia people that try to make a name for themselves. It's just, I'm not here to do it for show. I'm literally here to do it because I absolutely can. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not apologizing. And so I got to stay where people are okay coming to me for the message, because they know that they want to hear it. Does that make sense? I don't know if I articulated that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. That does. And it's going where your people are too. I mean, even me in the social media marketing space, you don't have to be on all the things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, and it's especially when all the things can be quite overwhelming to people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean me. I mean the people trying to get information.
Yep.
So I just, again, I choose now at this season of my life, if I have less clients, but higher quality, and maybe even more regional. I've traveled and worked across this country from tip to tail, and I'm actually now at a station where I kind of want to stay in the Southeast. Although I'll do anything from a web ed perspective. I'm doing it. People do ask me to do that a lot. So that's I can talk to family. I can talk to other professionals. If you're a business where you have employees, even if you have more than 100 employees, I don't care if you're a trucking company, or a bottle, you bottle milk for a living. If you have more than 100 employees in your employ, you got some of them are balancing care and career of either an elder parent or a child, or it's just happening. More than half the world is a caregiver in some capacity.
Right.
So we all need support, and I'm here for it. I'll go where the good Lord leads me, and I'll answer the call when people reach out to me.
Yes. Well, we've only gotten to speak together a few times, Ellen, and I know we keep saying we're going to meet one day in person, so we are going to do that. But I just feel so energized and excited each time I speak with you, and I know you leave everyone that you interact with that way. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your voice with all of us today.
I appreciate that. You're amazing. You're a rock star, and I'm having fun just circling your orbit and watching you blossom, my friend. So keep on keeping on, Whitney.